Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Inbox Academy. I'm Audrey, and I have with me today Baylee J. And Baylee is an author, a former email specialist, a marketing extraordinaire. Baylee is kind of, I feel like you have your hands in so many different
Yeah,
fields and pots and everything. So, I would love to hear, how do you describe yourself and what you do?
for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely like in my Renaissance woman phase where I have so many different things going. Several years ago, if you would have asked me, I would have just said like I'm a diehard email marketer and copywriter, and like that was where I lived for years. And I still love that, and I still live there. It's just not for clients one-on-one as much anymore. I do have a couple of clients, but it's mostly for my own business and my husband's business. So my husband is a wellness coach and he has a wellness coaching business. He has a couple of programs, and so we're moving online this year. So I'm like the CMO for his business, all things marketing for his business. And I'm also writing a 6-book romance series right now. And last fall, I wrote a manifestation journal and a to-do list. So actually, Audrey, you're one of the people who has asked me in the past, like, how do you get so much done? You get like, I have like hyper speed productivity, and I really don't. I just am so good about ruthlessly prioritizing what is important to me in life and what is going to make a biggest difference in my life. And so I wrote down the method that I use for that, and I created it in this journal. So that is right now under production for like republication for the physical copy, but I sell the digital copy. So I'm a journal author, I'm a romance author. I coach copywriting for the program that we met in, Write Your Way to Freedom. So I'm a copy coach in that. I also do some other mentoring on the side. So lots of things going on all the time in my
As I
world.
said, life extraordinaire, Baylee J.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so yeah, that's when we were talking about like what you're gonna, bring to us on this video and everything, that kind of came up, like how you've just managed to do so much.
Yeah.
And, you are an expert in so many things. And so we were discussing that maybe one of like the biggest things that's helped you succeed, right, is overcoming imposter syndrome. And
1000%.
fear and anxiety around doing these big things, these new things, claiming the title of expert, right? Like, I mean, to do any of that, you have to have the confidence and the overcoming that fear to do it. So I would love to talk to you about that. And I feel like it's such a huge topic in this realm
Yeah.
of online business, anybody who's learning a new skill and stuff like that. So to kind of get on the same page first with everybody, let's like define imposter syndrome a little
Yeah, for
bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this topic because everybody goes through it. Nobody is immune to imposter syndrome unless maybe you're a sociopath and then maybe you don't have it. But the rest of us, we have experienced imposter syndrome at one point. And how I define imposter syndrome, I think it manifests a little bit differently for everybody in your life, but it's that fear of putting yourself out there because you don't think you have what it takes. You don't think you have the knowledge, the experience, you think people are going to think that you're a fraud, the feeling of, oh my gosh, they see right through me. I'm so cringe, those things. That is how imposter syndrome manifests, I think, in my life and so many of the students that I've helped mentor and my friends who are business owners is really that fear of being perceived as somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. And I can also guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, that's not real. It doesn't happen that way. So whenever people come to me and talk about imposter syndrome, oh, I'm feeling this, they don't usually say, I'm feeling imposter syndrome, right? They're like, I'm scared to post online because I've just exposed myself to everybody in the world with a phone in their hands. And that's a valid fear. Like, first, let's just acknowledge the fact that that's terrifying to anybody. But whenever we talk about imposter syndrome in business, one thing that I really love to bring up is the question, would you look at somebody else who is posting about their business and think, what what an idiot, like how cringe are they? No, you'd be like, "Yeah, get your bag." You know? You have to do that because you are just like everybody else in the world. You're a human at the end of the day, like in our very robot inundated society right now with AI like taking over so many things, so many industries, the conversation for sure. The best advantage that we all have is that we're human and we have human experiences, we have lived experience, we have empathy and emotions. And part of the journey of putting yourself out there as a business owner is going through this imposter syndrome and is feeling that sense of inadequacy and fear. And what if people think that I'm less than, or what if they think that I'm a fraud? And I think it's just like a really, really relatable feeling that's a very human experience. And on the one hand, I don't think has to be completely overcome because it's valuable. Like it gives us valuable perspective. But on the other hand, it also doesn't have to be as debilitating as it is for some people too. So,
I think it's easy to look at somebody who's a little further along the journey and think like that they never felt the way you do now, or that they aren't feeling that way anymore and stuff. And like the truth is, like we say it all the time, that like when you get to that next level, it just comes in new ways.
yeah,
There's
it's
always
inevitable.
something that's intimidating you that, is giving you imposter syndrome, no matter what level you're on. But also, all of us did start at that like ground zero. We all started, feeling that full imposter syndrome, especially, anybody that has started a brand new business online, I think is
Yeah.
especially susceptible to that. But definitely, when I look at you and everything you've accomplished, it's hard to believe. So I would love to hear from you, like personally, where did imposter syndrome like really show up on your journey?
Yeah. So actually, what is probably the biggest area that I experienced imposter syndrome, I mean, I think I'm a little weird because when I first started my business, it didn't scare me to get in rooms with potential clients. It didn't scare me to
Mm.
get on discovery calls. It terrified me to my core to post online about my business and to say, "Hey, I'm a copywriter. This is what I do. These are the businesses I like working with. Here are some of the results I've gotten." One, because in the beginning I hadn't had any results yet. I was still like, somebody take a chance on me so I can get some results. Once I started getting those results, that fear lessened a little bit. But I mean, we've joked before, I'm like for my clients was the email go to, but I didn't even start my own newsletter list until last year. And I've been in business for like a long time. you know, we're talking like a solid 8 years at this point. So it took me 6 or 7 years to get an email list for myself when that was the thing that I was like preaching all the time, right? When are you going to practice what you preach? And it was so scary for me to put myself online because of this idea of everybody, I'm exposing myself to everyone. Nice people, not so nice people, people who have no idea what copywriting or marketing is, people who are very good at it. Those were the people I was most scared of, were the people who are really, really good at copy and marketing. And I was afraid that what I thought I knew to be true and had proof to back up and show was still somehow like not real. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, so and so is going to see my post and be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And that was so scary to me, that possibility. And you know what's hilarious is when I did start posting or start doing my emails, I had those same people that I was so scared of reply to me in my email and be like, "Oh, this is such a great idea. I'm going to try this." It's like, "Oh my God, I do know what I'm talking about." you know? And I'm sure you've had that experience before too, where like somebody in the
Oh,
industry that you admire is like, "That's a great idea."
yeah,
You're like,
yes. And it also, for me, like the memory that like sticks in my mind is actually my first discovery call, because I was that person that was scared to get on discovery
"Yeah,
calls and stuff. And I didn't land my first discovery call at all, but it ended up going
no, I
like
didn't
an hour long because I was having such a great chat with the business owner. And he was somebody that
either."
was like in my former industry. I'd never met him. He was like a leader in my former industry. And so it was very intimidating to get on that call. But what happened was that I basically discovered he knew nothing about marketing. And I
Yeah,
actually did know something about marketing. I didn't think I did. But as soon as I was talking to him and realizing how little he actually knew, it made me realize how much I did know. And
absolutely.
I had never believed that I knew more than the average business owner about
Mhm.
things in, marketing and copywriting and all of that. And that was such a huge confidence boost, even if it didn't end in a project, because he just
Yeah.
wasn't in the right stage of his business to like invest in heavily in marketing the way
Right.
that like a project with me would have done. But he was so thankful for all the strategy that I gave him on that call and everything like that. And it was like that call was so worth it just for that confidence boost and overcoming that first little sliver of imposter syndrome for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think the reason that I was never as scared of discovery calls as I was of posting online is because I'm so good at this, right? I am so good at getting on and talking with somebody, looking you in the eye, even if it's virtual, and really reading your energy and what is coming from you. Are you into the conversation? Are you confused? How can I say this a little bit better that's going to help you understand? Where is it going to click? And I've always been so much better at that. But whenever you're talking about posting online and marketing for yourself and your own business, you don't know who's reading it. So you can't read their energy. You have to like make up a person in your mind, and that's still hard for me. I'm still somebody, which I don't know if you are into, this is like my total spiritual self coming out, but human design is something that I'm like totally into. And in my book series, it's very relevant. So I've been doing a lot of studying about human design lately, but I'm a generator. So I have a lot of natural energy when it comes to the things that I like. But one of the like tenets of human design is, what is your strategy for navigating life? And mine is responding, waiting to respond. So that essentially just means when I'm not the type of person energetically who is meant to like initiate things, which is shocking when you think about all of the things I've done in my life.
Thinking that, I'm
Yeah,
like, that doesn't seem like it fits at all.
it's at all. But how I've gotten to those points is by responding to when that thing comes into my field of view. So if something comes onto across my table, across my desk, and I say, yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to do this, I just am always looking for opportunities and being open to responding to that. But whenever you're talking about marketing, you have to think about it a different way. When I struggled so much in my own marketing and my own newsletter for what am I going to say? Because I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know whose energy I'm responding to. Once I started reframing that about, okay, what am I interested in? What are other people in my niche asking? Because I didn't have an audience yet. So I couldn't say, what's my audience asking for? Don't know, don't have one. I had to really get creative with that and then start responding to those things. How can I have, what's my take on this? What's my lived experience, my unique experience? And that helped a little bit, but I actually, one of the things that has helped me overcome imposter syndrome so much, besides just getting like the base experience. So I actually want to pause here because I think it's really important to untangle some terms. So imposter syndrome can kind of be seen as this like umbrella term, right? And imposter syndrome is really its own thing. That's what we just talked about. You then have fear that comes in, which is, I think, much more powerful than imposter syndrome, because fear is shame. And it's the voice inside of you that's saying, if I post this, somebody's going to think that I'm not smart, that I don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm cringy, that I am whatever, right? Fill in the blank on whatever your insecurity is that's like deep inside of you. When you push on shame, that's when the fear comes around, because it starts to create all that shame inside of you, and then you're scared to even put yourself out there to see if there was an alternate universe, right? An alternate thing that happened to where maybe somebody said, this was so helpful for me, thank you for posting this. I'm going to try this trick now, or whatever it is. And so that fear can be so scary. And I have recently come into like the biggest life hack for overcoming fear, or for recognizing more so what fear actually is. And it all started because for Christmas, my husband gifted me a pair of roller skates. Have you been roller skating, Audrey,
I have, yeah. It's
as an adult?
um semi, yeah. It's I like
That's
rollerblades
actually,
better.
yeah, quad skates, four
Yeah.
wheels on each foot. I had not been roller skating since I was a kid, and when I was a kid, I was bad at roller skating, like, on the floor 95% of the time. But we started surfing last summer, and he recently got a surfboard or a skateboard that's supposed to be like a surfboard. So it's like a surfing trainer. It's called a surf skate. And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. I should get some roller skates so we can like skate around the neighborhood." And he was like, "Yeah." And then he got me roller skates for Christmas. And I was like, "What are you doing?" I opened the box of roller skates. They came early, and he was like, "Do you want your Christmas gift now?" And in my head, so also in my spare time, which is non-existent, I love to sew. I love to paint. I love to sew. I'm just like a creative person all the way around. And I've been like getting really good at sewing in the last year. So I'm fully expecting that this man is gifting me a serger machine for Christmas, which is like an advanced sewing machine kind
Yeah,
of
I know what
that
a
I don't
serger
know.
is.
Yeah. And I was like, in my mind, I'm gonna open this box. There's gonna be a beautiful serger inside. No, I open the box and there are roller skates, 8 wheels staring back at me. And I was like, what is going on right now? I was so surprised, and my face just like dropped because I have no control over my facial emotions. Like Audrey and I have hung out together in person before for an extended period of time, and this face shows literally everything. So face totally dropped, and I went into like a full body panic attack because I was so scared. I was like, what if I fall and I break myself and I like whatever, all of these scenarios just started absolutely zooming in my brain. And it was so sad because my husband's face, you could see him really excited, and then his face was just slowly like, oh no, what did I do? You know? Like it was so we joke now. He's like, I'm sorry I gave you an existential crisis for Christmas. I was like, yeah, you should be. But I opened those roller skates and I was so scared. And it was because I had all of this history with stuff like that. So when I was younger, my parents were very protective and had a lot of scarcity mindedness in lots of different areas, which is something that I've really had to overcome, especially in business. You have to if you struggle with scarcity, which we all do, you have to look it in the face and figure out where it's coming from, or it will consume you. And as a business owner, it will hold you back in spades. That's where a lot of people's imposter syndrome comes from as well. But for me, I was always kind of told, don't do extreme sports because you're going to get hurt. And so, what was my mind doing? I'm going to get hurt. I'm so scared. Once I got it took me so long to even put the roller skates on, and then I was like Bambi, it was so scary. I experienced in those moments when I and still for the first, like, month of learning how to roller skate as a full adult, I was so scared, like, but it was actual real fear, like, bodily fear, mortal fear for my life that was, "I'm gonna get hurt," or something like that. But you know what that experience gave me? Perspective on what is actually scary. Because posting online, not scary. It's just not. Like, the 2 are not the same. And, of course, there's, like, different types of fear, right? Different levels of fear. But I've been talking about this with the copywriting students that I coach lately, because a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I'm really scared to send this pitch because what if it's not good enough? What if they see right through me?" And I bring this up because my number one advice is, if something like this scares you, if anything in business scares you to the point of where you're laying in bed thinking about it at night and it's keeping you up, get a hobby that terrifies you because it will empower you so much in life to just be like, this is actually not scary. I'm going to do it and see what happens. Because you know what happens if you mess up when you post on social media? You can delete it. Like, whatever. Somebody might have screenshotted it. Sure, people say like the internet lives forever. If you mess up in business, it's not the same as whenever you mess up in something like roller skating and you break yourself and you have like real physical consequences to deal with, you know? It's
Yes.
just not. So that's something that like lately, because and it's been so timely, I think, in my life and in my like family life, because as we are this year, I don't think I said this in the beginning of the call, but this year we are really focusing on getting my husband's wellness coaching business fully online. So we're doing his blogs, Pinterest, social media, emails, ads soon, the whole thing. And that can be a little bit intimidating, right? It can be a little bit scary. For me, I'm writing a romance series. I built a business in the marketing world. That's a completely different world than the romance author world.
Yeah.
They're totally different audiences. Every connection that I have in business does not know a thing about writing romance novels. You know, a couple of them do, which is cool. There's a little bit of crossover there, but that's like not primarily my audience or the audience that I build. And so that's pretty much starting from ground zero as well, starting from scratch. And this couldn't have come at a better time because I started to feel that scarcity pop up again because I don't have data yet that I can write a great romance novel that
Yeah.
people love to read. You know, I don't have reviews. I don't even have a fully finished book yet. I'm working on the manuscripts now. And so a lot of that started coming back up for me. And the second I put on my roller skates every day, I'm just like, just kidding, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and post the reel of me typing on my clackety keyboard. And I don't care what happens after that, you know? Like it's just it really gives you a lot of perspective in life whenever you can put yourself in real life scenarios that's detached from your computer screen.
Love that. I, yeah, I feel that every year when I go skiing. I'm like used to be a skier and then in adulthood have managed, like one weekend a year or something. And it's just wild how different it feels as an adult. Um,
Yeah, skiing is terrifying for me still.
yeah,
I don't think I've graduated to skiing yet.
yeah, and it's like you said, like the real world consequences. Like I kind of remember my first time skiing as like a real adult. Like I went to
Mhm.
college in a ski town and like we skied all the time with like no fear, and then I kind of realized like I had a very physical job when I got out of college and zero sick leave actually, like when we started our job. And we went skiing one time and I was like, "Oh my God, if I injure myself, like I I would be out of my job. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't get paid."
right.
And it was like that first moment of being like actually like afraid for my body as an adult, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a
Um,
different it's
it's a very different fear. And you're right, like that physical fear is so different than also the mental fears and stuff like that. And so I love that like kind of quick hack to overcoming the
yeah.
fear of online. And the truth is like you really can delete things.
No, you really can. And that's the thing, like, people laugh whenever they're like, "What's your advice for overcoming fear and imposter syndrome?" And I'm like, "Get something that actually scares you. Like, experience something that actually makes you feel fear." Because I think it's so important too, just from like a nervous system perspective. We live our lives as online business owners online, on a computer screen, on your phone. And it can get so easy to believe that that's where real life happens is online, and it is not. And in my perspective, it never will be. Real life happens in real life, right? Like these conversations is real life, even though we're having them on a computer screen, right? Like we are interacting in real time, responding to each other, going to lunch with your neighbor, going to lunch with somebody who is your business partner, you guys, Audrey and Becky, being able to like go meet for lunch whenever you can, which was so cute, by the way. I just saw your little reunion video and I was like crying. So you guys are so cute. But those are the things that matter, right? I mean, even I think it has taken me several businesses now to realize that at the end of the day, the business is not what matters the most to me. You know, some people have their priorities where it's like business number one, then the other thing. Some people are parents, their children are number one. Some people have their pets, whatever it is. For me, business is never going to be number one. Life is number one. And it is because if you aren't living your life, what's the point? Like, there's not one. And so, going through several different businesses. I mean, in the last 10 years, I've had like, I can't even count. I don't even know how many businesses I've had that have been like running at the same time alongside of each other. Like
Yeah.
these things are still alive and happening. But I'm never like being able to live in the real world is so important. And even if it's not something that's like, you don't need to go out and get a hobby that's going to terrify you every time you do it. But if you can go do something that makes you feel joy or that makes you feel real emotions and you are present in the moment, can you ground into the moment? That's going to be so much better for you and your nervous system, because you're going to be able to remind yourself whenever you start to get scared to post, this is valid, valid that I'm scared right now, but I can do it anyway. I know that I will be okay when I post this, and if the worst happens, I'll still be okay. I'll be all right. And if the best happens, I'll be more than okay. It'll be awesome. I'm going to knock it out of the park, and then we're going to move on to the next thing, you know? I think just like the perspective that it's not that serious is a really helpful one to have,
Yeah.
even if it feels like the biggest thing in the world to you at the time.
And I love that you brought up too that you've had like 8 businesses. There's
So
so
many.
many of us that, have kind of gotten to this next level that we have people looking up to us. Like so many of us have made so many massive pivots and
Yeah.
like burned it to the ground and started over and all of that kind of stuff. And I think people get really caught up on like publishing their first website, something like
Oh,
that,
for
that
sure.
it feels so
I did.
scary. And it's like my first website lasted 6 months and then I burned that to the ground and started another one.
Yeah.
Like it, it
Yeah.
really is not permanent. It's something that you're putting out there to try. And yeah, like you said, it's just overcoming that first fear, like getting it done, getting just hitting publish on things
Yeah.
is so
First steps are
important to
scary.
moving forward. And then chances are you won't even keep it for that long
No,
anyway.
it's just data. It's just data for you to read and to interpret and figure out what you're gonna take into your next iteration. Like, I will validate all day long. Firsts are so scary. You and I have both been there. A lot of us watching this have absolutely been there, where you start your first business or you publish your first website, whatever it is, you will never have a feeling like that. And at the same time, it's so important to remind yourself when you're in that moment to just kind of step back a little bit and think about future you and where you want future you to be, and know that future you is just taking that and using it as data for their next move. Like that's what they're doing. It doesn't have to be forever. Like I I think my first website was, first of all, horrendous. It was just terrible. I didn't know what I was doing at that time. But it lasted like, yeah, maybe 6 months. And then I like scrapped it and did something else. I just
And it's
deleted an
sad
entire,
because it took me like 6 months to write, I think.
and then I was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah. I just deleted an entire Instagram that had like months and months and months worth of work, hours worth of work in that Instagram, right? And I was like, yeah, whatever. This is not relevant anymore. I will be fine deleting this. And I used to have a huge problem with like hoarding documents, right? Like keeping it on my computer because you never know when you're going to need it again. But the reality is, if you're growing, if you are moving, you probably won't need it again
Yeah,
because you have evolved. You have taken all of these experiences and turned them into something new. And so that's whenever you can create something that's more aligned with who you are in this moment and who you want to be moving forward.
absolutely. Well, I feel like
Mm.
that's a great note to to wrap up on.
Yeah.
Imagining that who you're going to be
Yeah.
in the future, stepping into that self. So yeah, to fully wrap things up, I would love to ask you, what are you working on now? What do you want people to to keep in
Yeah.
touch with you, or where can they find you?
Yeah. Okay. So you can find me across all socials at the Baylee J. And then my website currently under construction, but that will be at thebaileyj.com as well. And on YouTube, I post tarot readings and just writer life updates and things like that. I do it on Instagram and TikTok as well. I'm trying to just like be out there for as many things. And then if you wanted to follow my husband's business and you are interested in wellness coaching and identity-based wellness coaching, that is Stay Adaptive Wellness. And then you can also get the digital version of the Becoming Journal on my website, which will be linked down below this video. But really just like sign up for my email list because that's where you're gonna get the most like I don't call them emails, I call them love letters. So you're gonna get love letters from me and any kind of updates or links or anything will be there. So that link is in the description below too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Bailey. I know our audience is going to get so much wisdom from you. And yeah, everybody that's watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. And you also know that we are over on in our inbox, inboxacademy.co. So don't forget to sign up for that as well.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.